Good power, no flutter at all. ARCA Works. Light, fast, good. What do you compare this to? I mean, it's a lot like an Odachi meets a Letman. I mean, you got it's like hardcore, it's not gonna snap on a dime like an Odachi would, but it's got that nice race. Were you okay with this grip? Yeah, I mean, it really helped me like think about where my hand was and always like, I didn't feel like I was slipping or sliding like I usually do. Like it was just there. Well, there you go. So what'd you think of the Vulcan?
It was strong. I loved the paddle. A little slippery on the left side. Go with the grip.
Matt taped his before we left the house, by the way.
I agree with that.
And I have the tape to tape it. I just hadn't got around to it. Just so you know.
It was loose, but the paddle was fun or strong. Mm-hmm. Awesome booth through Rigo.
How was the power in the blade? You felt like the power?
Oh yeah. I didn't feel any bend at all. Yeah, real strong.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So you would get one?
Thank you. Oh yeah, I'm getting one for sure.
There you go. What's going on, y'all? In this video, I'm going to cover a paddle that I have been using, more of a long-term test of a paddle that I have been using off and on. If you've seen some of my other videos, I have been using this. One of the things with a kayak paddle, we need to know how durable they are, because they're not cheap. And you know what? We rely on these for our life. You know, a broken paddle could be pretty bad for a lot of people. I've broken several paddles, so trust me, if anybody knows, it's this guy right here. I know. And I will kind of break down the specs and give you a final thoughts at the end of this, like opinion over the past 5-6 months of pretty durable use. And that's jamming it in rocks, hitting walls with it, throwing it, you know, treating it a little rougher than I normally would treat a paddle. And I treat my paddles pretty rough, actually. And I tell you what, if y'all are looking for a paddle or interested in purchasing one of these paddles, I will leave links below where you can pick one of these up. And actually, I've worked it out where the first 5 orders from my link will get what I'm wearing here, an ARCA Works throw rope hat. Check that out. You guys could have a little paracord throw rope ready on your head at all times if you ever need it. This is a very high quality hat, and he does have several shirts and other things available on the website. So yeah, how cool is that? You guys get a free ARCA Works hat with every order. Awesome that they're doing that. But yeah, let me just go ahead and break down the specs of this thing and give you a little history and background on it. So this is the ARCA Works, and this paddle is called the Vulcan, and this color is called the Magma. And Vulcan is like the Roman god of fire, god of volcanoes, whatever. You know what? It's a volcano. And ARCA Works means, I think, valuables in a precious little box. How cute is that? So availability, it comes from it. You can get it in a 191 to a 206. It comes in right hand 30 or right hand 45 control, if that's what you're wanting. So first off, let me just go ahead and go through the construction of the paddle and what I thought of the construction. Number one, it comes in this colored carbon. This is 5 layers. It's foam, carbon, Kevlar, and it's got 3 types of carbon. This is not glued on. A lot of companies glue their shaft and paddle blades together. They've epoxied these, so the only way this is going to come off is to grind it off or shatter it off. And it's a very long, like hosel length from here to here. Look at that length in there. On down, the shaft is a round shaft, but it did have a good grip. This is called the X grip, and it's super grippy. Really like the feel of this grip. Very like, and it takes a little bit to wear it in, but you know what? It feels really good. And it's got a nice kind of like bump right there for your hands to kind of go down inside that bump like that, where this is more of a circle shaft here. This is all circle, and I did put the tape on here to add more grip to my left side, and these are just kind of like vinyl graphics that are just stuck on there. And there's a very shiny clear coat on there. So yeah, there's the overall construction of the paddle. Let me just go over the actual design of the blade and the shaft. So looking at this design, so you can see that it's a blade forward design. Let me show you what I would compare it to, this blade. So check this out. This is the Warner Surge, and you know what, a blade forward is nothing new. It's been around for a while. You see that blade forward design right there, and then you can see that blade forward design there. Let me just kind of like hold them both up. It's a little more of an aggressive bend than what's on. You could see the Surge has like a slider bend. This has a more aggressive bend. So you're looking at the Adachi, that has a more aggressive bend, and there's a reason why it's only 1/2, because I keep breaking Adachis, and the blade is more comparable to the Adachi. But the most common paddle that a lot of people have is this Surge. So I'm just going to kind of like, for the purpose of this video, compare it a lot to this Surge to give everybody an idea of what it's like. Looking at the back, it's a really flat back here on the back, but it has a very nice like scoop built into this thing. You could see that it has a nice scoop. And this ridge here, one thing is, this ridge serves two functions. It helps like disperse the water off of the sides there, but the number one thing that I think a ridge like this high does, it actually adds strength to the center of your paddle. So if you notice, it's the same ridge on both sides. Very smart, very well designed. And the dihedral isn't like overly pronounced, but it is very nicely like scooped up here and here. And I love the power transfer of this thing, by the way, absolutely amazing. And the overall specs of the blade is 690 centimeters, and it's 42 centimeters there. So 690 is kind of a big blade. That's right on par with a lot of other blades out there. You guys can do your own research and figure out what blades, but that blade has a lot of power. This is more of a downriver race style, downriver kind of creek style blade than what you would consider an all-around play boating paddle. Just to note, everybody, because it's a blade forward design. That's what the Adachi, the Surge, and the the Letman Nitro blades like that are more designed for downriver, kind of like creek boating, river running, things like that, because that's exactly what this thing is. Yeah, so there's the overall shape and kind of a little bit of dimensions of the blade there. Let me just kind of like go over some of the specs of this thing. So the weight on this thing, when I first got it, I did weigh it, but the weight, their claimed weight is 1,053 grams, but I came in, my personal weight came in around about, on this paddle, came in about 980 to around about 985. Absolutely amazing that they actually are a little lighter than claimed. So that's really cool that they did that. This one is a 200 centimeter 45 right hand control, so that's the one I have right here. It's exactly the same as this Surge. Actually, when I weighed this paddle, it came in at 1,008 grams, and this came in at 980 to 985 grams. It kept jumping around. So now let's talk about the thickness of the shaft, because this is what a lot of people are curious about. When I put a caliper right here of the actual shaft part, it came in a little over 30 millimeters right in here, and then this came in at a little over 35 millimeters right in here where the actual shaft is. And then the Warner shaft, because I'm using this as a kind of a comparison because a lot of people know about the Surge shaft. So right in here where it's got the grip, the Warner shaft came in at a little over 33 mils right there. So believe it or not, you got 30 to 35. You could cut this off if you didn't really want to use that. So only about 2 mil difference between the grip there. And this is the regular size. This is not the small shaft, by the way. Blade thickness, when I put a caliper on the blade thickness, I was a little over 6 mil, and you could see how thick that blade is right there. That is a very thick blade of carbon right there. So now just going over a little bit of the wear. Like I said, I've been really putting this thing through. One thing that I'd found almost immediately out of the gate, it had a lot of scratches on the clear coat, and it kept chipping up all along this area. This does not have Dynel edging in it. This has always happened to me with paddles with Dynel. They split open after the Dynel wears down. This is just going to continue to wear all the way and wear down like a normal kind of like carbon paddle. And you could see mine has kind of been wearing down right there, but absolutely amazing. This has held up very good. Here's the right blade and here's the left blade. You could see the little stragglers hanging out right there, but I've been very impressed with how this thing has wore down. The shaft still looks really good. I haven't taken a lot. I have thrown it and hit the shaft on a few things, but you know what? It still holds up really good, and it feels extremely tough looking at it there. You notice there's not much flex. There's almost zero flex in this paddle, by the way. There's kind of the overall specs and kind of the wear of it. Let me go ahead and break down my final thoughts and give you my final opinion on what I thought of this paddle after using it for the past 6 months. So my final thoughts, number one, I'll start with the negatives first because there's not many of them. The number one negative that I noticed when you first get it, it's aesthetically pleasing. It's very shiny. This clear coat looks absolutely amazing. You almost don't want to put it in the water because it looks so good. But after one use, I started seeing really deep scratches, and it really scratches up the clear coat really easy, and then it chips along the edge outside of this blade. So it looks rough after like 1 or 2 uses. As far as performance, it has not affected the performance at all. It still performs just like the day I got it. Did not change it. It just kind of like wore that shape down slightly. But like I said, I was not easy on this paddle. You've got a wide grip right here on your shaft, so I could see this grip might be a little too wide for most. So this X grip is what they're calling it. Might be a little rough on some people's hands. It did kind of start wearing. I don't know if you can see it. I've got a little bit of a callus on the inside of my hand there where it just kind of like wore it down. But after a few uses, you kind of get used to it, and it actually finds its own little groove. If you look, mine got kind of wore in some, and you see it softened up. I don't know how this would last over a long term. The side that's not got the grip on it was super slippery. So when this got wet, it is slick. I mean, it's slicker than, you know, a greased up pig. It is so slippery trying to hang on to this. So if you get one of these, I recommend going ahead and putting tape on there. And also this tape is yellow because, you know, imagine this at the bottom of the river. That's going to give you a little bit of more visibility to find this thing. Pros, and what I really liked about this paddle was the weight of it. The weight was very light, coming in a little under 1,000 grams. I really liked the blade. The power that this thing had was very good. You could easily use this as your race paddle, creeking, downriver, maybe a little bit of freestyle, but the Blade 4 design does not cater to freestyle paddling very much, creeking and going fast. So I really like it for that. That was very powerful, very good blade for that. I like this non-slip grip on the right. I didn't have to put any tape there. It just automatically came with this grip. Was very good. I really liked the way that grip felt and how easy it was to control the blade with this grip. It gives you a little more control of the left side with that grip, and the right side stays locked in a little better. This thing, even though it feels very light, it feels almost indestructible. Obviously not every paddle is indestructible. Everything breaks after enough use. But another pro is the customer service. You know, the guy running this, he's really dedicated to making this brand work and really taking care of the customers. So he's given a 6-month kind of like warranty on craftsmanship and warranty defects. That doesn't mean you run over it with your car and you get a free paddle, or you go off a waterfall, land on a rock and you break it, or you swim and you break it. Every paddle breaks if you put it in the right, like if I stepped on it right here, it's probably going to break. Just so you know, this is a very stiff carbon blade. When you look at it, you got a little bit of flex in it right here when I mash down on it, but it's not a lot of flex. This thing is you're going to transfer that power extremely well. So every stroke will feel like it's really pulling you forward. It really has a nice power pull to it. And then affordability, you know, the fact that he's offering payments, you can make payments on this thing, and it comes in at a really affordable price compared to a lot of other paddles out there. So I think he's done a really good job on this, and I will leave links below where you can pick one of these paddles up. And remember, you get your ARCA Works hat, which you can see the sweat on there, so I'm sweating for y'all out here. And you get the ARCA Works hat for the first 5 orders that place an order on this. So there will be links below for anyone that's interested in picking up one of these paddles. So yeah, there it is, everybody. That's all I got today on the ARCA Works Vulcan. See you guys on the water. Woo!